sitting who are what the adepts or the initiates call profane, did not understand what they saw. They thought that it was really about a journey into space by an astronaut or a group of astronauts, and the bad things that happened to some of them, and one survived, and none of them understood the significance of the obelisks, the monoliths, one on the moon, one in orbit around Jupiter, and the ultimate transformation of the astronaut into a giant fetus floating in space. And to tell you the truth, when I first saw the movie, I didn't really understand it either, but I knew that there was something of such import there that I needed to know. And I never stopped studying until I found out. And of course, one discovery leads to another. And every time I answered a question, 100 more popped up until I reached a point, dear listeners, where I realized that if I studied for the entire rest of my life, there's not enough time in my life to learn what it is that I need to know. Ancient man witnessed something that he described in his oral history and in his writings. And it could probably be called the first UFO sighting in the history of the world. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning star? Now notice, Lucifer was called the son of the morning star. It was also called the morning star, and there is a great mystery here, because Christ also called himself the morning star. Now how all that fits together, I do not know, but I have been told by those who have been initiated in the mystery schools that Christ and Lucifer are one and the same being. However, I cannot bring myself to believe that. What you believe, of course, is your own business, and it's not my intention to make you believe anything, but rather to impart to you what I have learned over many, many years of study into the secrets of those who worship the ancient mystery religions in secret for thousands of years. For you see, that monkey who sat there squatting on his haunches in the desert, striking the earth and the pile of bones with this great thigh bone, was the first priest of the mystery schools. And it was this first priest who then began to initiate others into the secrets. And they are the one who have been responsible, according to my research, for most of the scientific developments and the forward movement as far as material progress goes of the human race. For they were the learners. They were the ones who developed science. They were the ones who hid their developments and used their science and their knowledge and their secrets to govern others. Usually not as kings, but as advisors and as priests, and in all actuality, the power behind the thrones in ancient times and even today. They have ruled from the shadows, you see, and they call themselves the guardians of the secrets of the ages.
For context here, we refer you to the Pentagon Papers, which were a classified report commissioned by Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara in 1967, revealing a wide range of controversial and sensitive information about the U.S. government's military and intelligence operations. The documents were published by various media outlets, including the New York Times and the Washington Post, and caused a significant public outcry. The report was leaked to the press by Daniel Ellsberg, a former military analyst and Rand Corporation employee, in 1971. One of the most shocking revelations in the leaks was the existence of a secretive organization known as the Jason Society, which was made up of some of the most prominent and influential scientists in the country.
What's going on here?
Mr. President.
The society was named after the Greek myth of Jason and the Argonauts, and its members were referred to as Jasons. The leaked documents reveal that the Jason Society has been involved in some of the most important scientific breakthroughs of the past century, from nuclear weapons to space travel.
And their first religion was called astrotheology, or the worship of the heavens and their first object of worship was the sun. The second object of worship was the moon. And everywhere you see the mystery schools or the mystery religion, you will see the symbols of the sun and the moon, also known as Osiris and Isis, and the child Horus, which I will explain the meaning of later.
The Order of the Quest takes a modern form in the American government-created Project Sunrise, or as it is now called, the Jason Group or Jason Society. The Jason Society is a secretive group that advises the United States government on matters of science and technology. The group was founded in 1960, and its membership is composed of some of the most prominent scientists and academics in the country. In the 1970s, a series of Pentagon leaks revealed the existence of the Jason Society and its role in advising the government on a range of issues, including military technology, space exploration, and nuclear weapons. The leaks also revealed that the group operated under a high level of secrecy, with members sworn to maintain confidentiality about their work with the government. The leaks caused controversy and concern among some members of the public and within the scientific community, as the group's influence and activities were not widely known or understood. However, supporters of the group argue that its work has been instrumental in advancing American scientific and technological capabilities, and that the secrecy surrounding its operations is necessary for national security reasons.
Man's newfound intellect set him upon a quest that, according to those who say that they know, has never ended, even unto this day. And the modern-day equivalent of this ancient mystery religion calls itself the Order of the Quest.
Some of the most prominent and influential members of the Jason Group have included physicist Richard Feynman, computer scientist Donald Knuth, mathematician John von Neumann, and biologist Joshua Lederberg.
In the movie 2001, the quest led them ultimately into space and to the moon, where they were further imparted knowledge by Lucifer, again, in the form of the obelisk, the monolith, the stone, and you will understand what that means later when we get into the Osirian cycle, or the legend of Isis, Osiris, and the child Horus. When they were imparted knowledge again on the moon, it set them off on a further quest to the planet Jupiter, where they found a huge, tremendous, again, another obelisk, monolith, stone, degenerative force floating in space, orbiting the planet Jupiter. Now, the journey from the moon to Jupiter is significant, for the astronauts on board this spaceship represented the entirety of the human race. And it represented that some will evolve, and those who cannot will not be allowed into the future. You see, this was a message from those who rule to all of the initiates of the world. It was a message that the new age is now dawning. And you see that at one point during this journey from the moon to Jupiter, man, represented on a microcosm by the astronauts making this voyage, came in conflict with their own technology. The technology of the human race was represented by the computer called HAL. And for those who were intelligent enough to experiment with the name HAL and progressed the letters one forward in the alphabet from what they were in the movie, H became I, A became B, and L became M, and they were able to see that the symbol was of the largest at that time when the movie was made, and the corporation that was on the cutting edge of computer technology, IBM. It was significant that man had built this technology, this computer, which had an artificial intelligence and was capable of communicating with the astronauts, and yet they had forgotten to put a switch in the machine which could be turned off at will.
Their accomplishments are numerous and varied. For example, Feynman was instrumental in the development of the atomic bomb during World War II. and later made significant contributions to the fields of quantum mechanics and particle physics. Knuth is known as the father of computer science, and his work on algorithms and programming languages has had a profound impact on the field. Von Neumann made key contributions to the development of the modern computer, and Lederberg was a pioneer in the study of microbiology and genetics, and won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1958.
Now, you have to understand that this is all symbology. Hal represented many things. He represented the atomic bomb, the hydrogen bomb, chemical warfare, bacteriological warfare, represented the state-of-the-art of technology, where it became so complicated that no one man could be an expert in it, and thus might unknowingly participate in the building of a technology which could destroy him. You saw this battle play itself out on board this spaceship, where ultimately there was only one astronaut left fighting the battle against Hal. And he was able to make this jump in his evolutionary consciousness, and he was able to fool Hal and turn off the computer. But when he did so, he knew that he had relegated himself to permanent separation from his fellow human beings back on Earth. And folks, the message was not that he went into space to effect this separation. Space was just the vehicle through which it was conveyed in the movie. The message was that the new man will go into the future and the rest of us will perish. We will not be allowed into the future. The message to the vast army of initiates in the mystery school was, we are on the threshold of the new age. And into this new age will march only one man. It is the new man. It is the illumined man. It is the man that is able to make the evolutionary jump to no more war, to no more rape, no more pillage, to the level in the mystery school known as 666. It is the number of a man. It is the illumined man to the mystery schools. To those of us who are Christians, it is the symbol, mark of the beast, the indication that the Antichrist has arrived, and the beginning of the time predicted in the book of Revelation known as the tribulation. But I may be wrong, and as always, when you listen to this show, don't believe a word you hear unless you could substantiate it in your own research. At the end of the movie, what you saw as the astronaut became older and aged, and this was the symbol of gaining knowledge and wisdom. And he looked at himself, and he saw himself younger, and he looked back and saw himself older, and he looked back and he was older still, and he looked back and he was young again, and then old. And then you saw this unbelievably overpowering, stunning vision of a fetus, a human fetus, floating in the great vastness of the universe, signifying the birth of the new age and the new man that will go into the future. Now, in the sequel to 2001, you saw that this astronaut who had made the jump came back and talked to some select few, signifying that he had then become a teacher to the rest of us. When he was asked what happened to him, he said, and I quote, "Something wonderful," unquote. Now that was supposed to tell the rest of the initiates of the world who really understood the symbology of the movie, that if they were able to make this transition, the future would be a utopia. Now I don't know whether it will be or not, but I can tell you this. The priests of the ancient mystery religions are in charge right now, and we had better damn well find out, and we had better do it very quickly. For the new age is the age of Aquarius, and the exact date of the dawning of the age of Aquarius can be determined astrologically. Let's go back now to the beginning, when man was in his infancy on the evolutionary scale of development. Man was alone Alone in the sense that he did not have all of the help and the knowledge that we have today that enables us to survive. You see, man then was subject to the cold, to the wild beasts of prey. He didn't have a home, he didn't have air conditioning in the summer, didn't have heating in the winter, didn't have medical doctors. If he became ill or injured, was most likely to die. So it did not take ancient man very long to decide that in this world the single greatest enemy to be feared was the darkness of night and all the unknown dangers that came with it. And simply stated, man's first enemy was darkness. Now, understanding this one fact alone, one can readily see why the greatest and most trustworthy friend the human race could ever have at that time was by far heaven's greatest gift to the world, that glorious rising orb of day that we call the sun. And that was the beginning of the battle between light and darkness, and it was man's first understanding of the birth, the death, and the rebirth of a deity. For the sun was born in the morning, traveled across the heavens where it reached its most powerful point, the zenith. And that will explain why so many things occur at noon or near noon, and then signifying old age and the end of its life, sank into the west and then died. And man was subjected to the rigors, the dangers, the cold of night until his God again was reborn the next morning. Man noticed that the moon also rose, lived a different life than the sun, and then set and died and was reborn again. The sun, because of its brilliance, became the master or the greatest deity, and the moon took on the feminine aspect because the moon reflected the light of her master. And all of this will begin to make sense to you eventually as we go through this, because from now on, every program that I do is going to be devoted to this, to the explanation of the esoteric religion, the ancient mystery religion. And it's important that we all understand it because these are the people in charge. And don't ask me to tell you the truth of religion, for I really believe in the Constitution and that we all have a right to worship our own God in our own way. And no one has the right to tell anyone, unless asked, what they should believe. You all know by now that I am a Christian. But I'm not a Christian in the sense that I follow the dogma of any church or the preachings of any preacher or necessarily word for word the Bible. I stick strictly and only to those words that are directly attributed to Jesus Christ, and I attempt to follow those words in my daily life. And it doesn't matter to me whether anyone proves that he never lived or that he lived or not. I have found that those are the most profound teachings amongst all of the books and teachings that I have ever heard or read in my entire life. And until someone can prove to me that there's something better, that is what I will always adhere to.
As we conclude this mind-bending journey through the esoteric secrets of Stanley Kubrick's movie, we leave you with a final thought. The evolution of human consciousness is ongoing, and those who cannot adapt to the changing times risk being left behind. As the late great Bill Cooper once said, "The ultimate ignorance is the rejection of something you know nothing about, yet refuse to investigate." So, for those of you who found Bill Cooper's ideas intriguing, remember that he has left behind a wealth of knowledge and hundreds of hours of radio shows to dive deeper into. As Nietzsche said, "Become who you are, and never stop exploring the depths of your own consciousness." Safe travels, my fellow seekers.